Hello, 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 everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, or whenever you're watching this live. Actually, today I am going to go straight to the intro because I've got a lot to discuss with this guest and an expert, and she is again a good friend of mine who is joining, and she's not been on my friends list for long. But again, sometimes you meet people and you just gel with them. As we are going to meet Michela Quilici. Hopefully, I'm pronouncing her surname right. But she's an accomplished international business growth coach and an award-winning marketing strategist who refers herself as a business navigator. Truly, she is. Her unique talent lies in developing clear roadmaps that inspire leaders to get unstuck and take purposeful action to steer their business towards growth. Her impressive track record spans 2 decades of working with business owners to help them achieve visibility, attract clients, and increase profitability, if I could speak, through strategic planning, efficient systems, and effective leadership. We all need all of these. So let me bring Michaela and start discussing what we are going to discuss. If you've got any questions, please do get in touch with her. Hey, Michaela, thank you very much for joining me.
Hi, Sudha. Good to be here with you today. I'm excited for our chat.
Oh yeah, I am as well. It's one of those things which once I start, it's said to be half an hour. But when we start talking, you will see how I go about on this one. I do talk a lot if you have not noticed already. Anyway, first question. Tell me a little bit about yourself, apart from what we've heard in bio. Tell me, what do you do? How do you do it? And give us something which is not on the bio.
All right, great question. Yeah, I'm a business growth and leadership coach. And, I started my journey, something that you may not know about me as an employee. Um, and I worked for a decade inside startups, fast paced, growth stage startups, leading marketing teams, to support salespeople to drive revenue. So that was my kind of, first part of my career, I guess I would say. And That was an amazing time, in my life working inside organizations, really understanding business models and strategy and learning from some really smart executives, and that was a really important time in my life because I was a sponge, right? Just learning and
Yeah.
growing and developing quickly. And I got to a point though, Sudha, where we became, we had a lot of accomplishments,
Yes.
um, in one particular company, became one of the fastest growing companies named by Profit Magazine. Yet we had all of these external, challenges. We went through, 9/11 and the SARS outbreak back then, and like all these like really fierce competition. And yet we grew really quickly, and I learned so much about, you know, staying true to your strategy and your focus, and investing in your team and just really getting back to basics and just staying with the tried and true and being persistent and consistent and all of these things, right? That we hear about, but I saw it in action, and that really, made an impression on me. And so that's how I, you know, started off in my career. But I got to that point, Sudha, and I'm, maybe you and some people listening here might relate to, where I just thought, is this it? Like, really, I'm climbing up the ladder, like corner office VP marketing. Is that really what we're going for here? And I left that, I exited that world in search of more meaning. and looking for more purpose in my life. And so then that jump started this whole second part of my career, which I'm in now, which I've been in for the last 13 years in supporting business owners to get more traction and momentum to grow their business more strategically and more profitably. And so that's the story, the backstory of what led me to do what I do.
Well, I think we have not discussed this. I don't know whether we've discussed this or not. We've got a similar background, but you were in marketing, but I was in product development or helping the IT team set up their tech
Mhm.
thing, and I'll be interacting with the marketing team if I can say that way. It's more product development or how to build a business case, to be frank with, for more funding. Oh, interesting, very very interesting story indeed. So yes, you came out, and what were the struggles, which you think all entrepreneurs or anyone who is starting on their own would be going through? What was that you went through, and what advice do you have for us?
Yeah, really good question. So, oh my goodness, I was not prepared at all for entrepreneurship, even though I come from, a family of entrepreneurs. Like both my parents, each of them had, they were each business owners. And so, I like to say that we became business owners in my family by necessity, not necessarily by choice of saying, yeah, I think I want to grow up and be a business owner. My family were immigrants, and, they came, they immigrated from Italy to Canada, and they had very little money, and they, very little knowledge of the English language. They didn't have any connections. And so they started by necessity. And in a way, I followed that same pathway of starting my business by necessity, because what I had left, I didn't want that anymore. I didn't want that life anymore. I wanted something that was more meaningful and more purposeful. And I wanted to discover, like, what are my gifts and how can I bring my expertise? How can I package that up and bring it out into the world? And so I came into it very naively. And I think, like a lot of people do, right? We think at the time, oh, I've got my skills and I've got my passion, and I'm really excited and I'm really enthusiastic. And then I'm just going to go out there and start telling people what I do, and it'll be great. I'll just start getting clients, right?
And
Like
it
that's
resonated me completely.
right. Like, why not? That's like seems logical, right? But when I first started out, and I started out doing what I knew, which was marketing strategy. And so I was doing marketing plans, marketing consulting. That's how I started out. And it was a very slow trickle of clients. And I started networking, and I hated sales. I was not public speaking at all. I had I just, I'm an introvert. I had all of these issues, going on, like
Yeah,
challenges.
I call them challenges, but they are like in your head. They are issues, isn't it? It's like
Yeah,
you
they're
need to sort
totally
this out.
issues. Oh my goodness. So had all these issues, and I didn't like sales. And even though I supported salespeople, I always thought, I don't need sales. I can just be a marketer and go out there and do my marketing thing, and I'll get clients. I don't need to do the sales thing. Plus, I don't like
Brilliant.
salespeople, and I don't like sales. So I don't know what I was thinking back then, but it seemed logical to me. And so I went out there with these beliefs, and what we believe is what ultimately we create. And
Yeah.
what I had created was not a lot of results that I was expecting. And so I learned a bunch of tough lessons, really really tough lessons. Number one, it doesn't matter how brilliant you are at what you do, It doesn't mean you're brilliant at marketing yourself.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, the people that are the most brilliant at what they do, they, don't get seen, they don't get paid, because they don't know how to translate their know-how and into marketing language.
Yeah.
And so that was very much my story. And that's then also, all everything that I learned is now everything that I teach, because I learned those skills and then
The
package that
hard
up to
way.
support others. Yeah. So that was number one. Number two was this whole notion around visibility, right? And you and I have talked about this, like visibility in and of itself only leads to more visibility. Visibility is marketing. You can be out there, and I was doing that. I was out there networking, attending events at the beginning, thinking that all I need to do is be visible, and then people would see how brilliant I was, and I'd get clients. Well, that didn't work. And so I learned the hard way over time, right? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Completely.
Uh, I learned the hard way over time that there is a pathway from visibility to tangibility, or visibility to profitability, right? And so, there's a pathway, there's a strategy, and I learned what that is. And we can talk a little bit about that today, but there is that pathway, and you need to know what it is, and you need to learn that, and more importantly, get help. So it wasn't until I think it was about a year and a half in to my business, I started to actually realize that I needed to start changing a little bit about what I was doing, because it wasn't really serving the market the way they needed to be served. So I went back, and I noticed that these marketing plans, business owners were not able to implement them. They were kind of getting in their own way. So that was at the time that I learned that I needed to go back and really brush up on my skills. So what I thought was going to be my business, a year and a half into it, I realized that that wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And so I needed to change. I needed to add in coaching skills so I could help, not only with strategy, but with supporting on the implementation, and then supporting business owners to, be able to implement and get out of their own way. And that's really a mindset thing. So that's when then I moved more towards the inner game and the outer game. But I never thought that that's what my business was going to be when I started. So be open, right, to changing the business model based on what your market needs. That was a huge lesson that I had to learn. And it's been evolving ever since, because the
You
market will tell you, what they need. It's not about what I want to,
know.
do.
Yeah, that's one thing which I understood as well. But you were quick. In 18 months you learned, but I wasn't that quick. I kept at it saying, okay, if I am techie, so everyone wants technology. What's the trouble here? Why do they not understand the technology is helping you rather than complaining about technology? I had the same block of like, how do I translate that and talk your audience language or your client's language in a way so people understand? I sucked at storytelling. And I also, that's one of the challenge for many people. They don't know. Number one, they don't know what they don't know, and number two, they don't want to accept that they don't know as well.
Right. Exactly. And so, at the time, you said that I learned quickly. I still think I'm a very slow learner when it comes to that, but I had a fire lit under me because of the situation that I had found myself in.
Yes.
I was reinventing my life. I had, gone through a lot of personal challenges and a lot of personal changes. And I had found myself restarting and rebuilding my life, and I was on my own. And so I had to pay the bills.
Yes.
And so that really was that fire and that motivator to figure it out. And so then I luckily, thank God, hired my first business coach. And
Yeah.
she literally changed my life. And I
Mm.
remember this because I could not afford it. It was, you know, so out of what I could afford at the time. But I knew that if I didn't get help, I'd have to go back and get a job. And that terrified me. And I thought, there's no way I'm going back to get a job. And so I used my savings and I invested. And it was, she was a coach, she was a mentor, she was a strategist. And what she did for me was she helped me identify the fact that I actually didn't have a business model. And I was just trying to sell, you know, marketing plans, right? And marketing consulting. And so, this is one of the mistakes that I see a lot of people making is that they're trying to sell something that actually people don't want to buy. Right.
Yes.
And you just articulated this so beautifully, Sudha, is that people don't buy marketing plans. They don't buy coaching. They don't buy
Yeah.
consulting. They don't buy, you know, these kinds of things. What they buy is they buy solutions to problems that they have.
Yeah.
And so that's also, one of the lessons that I had to learn is to really understand, and through working with my that first business coach, to really get clear on what am I actually selling, like what is my business model, what am I actually selling, and what problem am I solving in the marketplace. And then
Mm.
based on all of that, who in the market is that buyer, that
Yeah.
qualified buyer, I like to say, who has that particular problem and who is admitting to say, I have that problem and I'm looking for solutions. And
That
then how do I get in front of that person and not only be visible, but create a pathway into a sales process to then enroll them to become a client?
that's the you put it really good. It's accepting the not only creating a buyer persona, but also they are accepting, yes, I have these problems, I need someone to help me with these problems. And also there are one group of people, they understand what their problem is and they can't afford you. There is another group of people, they've got problem and they know they can afford you and they can hire you. But many entrepreneurs wanted as like, I want to help these people.
Hmm. Yeah. And that was
But
me.
they get into the same, I wish someone had helped me, so I'm helping this person even if they can't afford. They waste their time by
Yes.
doing so as well.
Yes.
It's this is where I think everyone needs to have that understanding. Yes, you can be altruistic. At the same time, you've got to see whether they can afford you or not as well. So how do they come to that transition
Yeah.
of y-
Yeah.
sometimes you've got to kill that instinct to help others without expecting anything. How do they make that transition?
Yeah, so that was me as well. When I first started out, I was targeting a market that I knew I could help,
Yeah.
and that I knew needed help. But what I realized was that when I started actually getting in front of that market and having conversations with them and listening and learning and understanding that market, I realized that they don't have the budget. They don't have the motivation for what I'm offering, because what I offer is growth. I
Mm-hmm.
offer a pathway to growth. I offer an opportunity. The problem I solve is for people who, coaches, consultants, service professionals who are stuck. They're spinning their wheels. They're stuck. They don't have a clear path for growth. They don't have traction in their business. That's the problem I solve. I was going after a market who wasn't actually that motivated by growth.
Yes.
And so what I learned is that it doesn't matter. This is why I like to say, stop chasing target markets and start attracting and magnifying your buyers, your qualified buyers. The definition of a qualified buyer is
Mm-hmm.
somebody that has a budget. There's somebody that has a need, an expressed need. They are actually putting their hand up and saying, I need help with this. They have the authority to make a decision. They have, it's timely. They're ready. That's the definition of a qualified buyer. That is, sales 101.
Mm.
And so if you don't have that, if you're not targeting that, then it's not going to work, right? So this is where we have to really get clear on what kind of business are you building? Are you here to just, as an example, have a hobby? Are you here to have a part-time thing? Are you here to actually create, more of a job for yourself, like an income for yourself? Are you wanting to create a business, like a real business with, couple of employees or a small team? Or are you wanting to grow an enterprise, that has, a larger team? What are you wanting to build? Because then that will dictate, how you show up and the decisions that you make, right? So
Mm.
um, it's just we have to be very clear about understanding that if you want to create an income for yourself, a job for yourself, a business, an enterprise, then you've got to understand the basics of how business works. And if
Mm.
you don't know that, that's why you need to get help, right? Because trust me, I have a lot of clients who have MBAs. So you don't need to go get an MBA, and that doesn't teach you how to build a business. So that's why
Tell me
getting
about
help.
it. I'm an MBA. I know.
Yeah, exactly. I've got some of the smartest clients on the planet, right? Like you, MBA resumes that would be, that are stunning and ridiculous, right? With achievements and awards and degrees and certificates and, all of that, accolades, incredible corporate tenures, um, but again, doesn't matter how brilliant you are. It's all about how do you know how to market, and do you know how to sell? Because at the end
Mm.
of the day, business is about relationships. That's it. And the bottom line is, if you're in business, you're in sales. Sales is about relationships. It's about communication. It's about
Yeah.
understanding, how to present yourself, how to really understand your buyer and have that conversation. So, to go back to your question about how do you make that transition, is partly what we just talked about. Really understand that, you're creating a business, unless you're creating a nonprofit or a social
Yeah, I
enterprise.
think many start out as like they're, even though they say that they are creating business, they start a non-profit where they want to help people. They want to get testimonials. Most of the time, it doesn't happen when you help people who don't have that motivation that they need to win. If they don't have motivation to get to pay someone, how can they expect to have a motivation for someone else to pay them? You see,
Exactly.
I think that's where the misalignment happens. That they don't want to pay someone, but they are expecting that someone else will pay, which will never happen.
No, it won't
Money
happen.
makes money, but which people don't understand. That's one of. I mean, even I'm putting. It looks like pot is calling the kettle black. I was the same as well. That we don't we go into that circle. But anyway, the you've spoken about my story is second thing. I If you let me talk, I'll talk for the whole universe. But the question is, how do they, okay, well and good, they understand what they want, they hire the business coach, they set up strategy, how, and they become visible because of, and they've got, presumably because they've got business coach, they've got a product as well to offer. How do they go from that visibility stage
Mhm.
into getting that traction and someone taking their card out or purse out and paying for their service or product? How do they go from that? How can they gain that traction?
Yeah, really good question. So there's a few different strategies again. But here's some of the problems, right? Some of the
Yeah.
problems that pop up is that, and it's interesting because I'm doing a 4-part LinkedIn Live
Yes.
series this month, right, for the month of March.
Yeah, I have
And
not watched it, but I will go and watch it.
yeah, it's really interesting. It's We've been having some really fun and enlightening conversations.
Uh-huh.
Every week, I reveal one reason why you're not getting traction in your business,
Okay.
and so there's a lot of different reasons why we're not getting traction, and a lot of the problems that I've noticed that pop up have to do with mindset, right? So um, business is this three-legged stool I like to talk about. It's about cultivating the right mindset of showing up as a business owner, expanding your own emotional intelligence and self-leadership, having good strategy, an effective strategy. And number three is ongoing and consistent implementation. And that's the trifecta of business growth. And so a lot of the times, if people are not getting traction, right, it's inside of that trifecta where there's gaps. So something I talked about on the live just the other day is that there's a really simple formula for success that I like to share, which is vision plus strategy plus bold, consistent action equals results. So I often, ask people, so if you're taking the position of your wise self here, right? And you're thinking like a business owner and you're looking at this formula, vision, strategy, bold, consistent action equals results. Where vision is like, I know what I'm creating. I've got this vision of how I want to help people and what I'm going to do in the world. Strategy is, how are you going to get there? What's the reverse engineered plan for that's customized? What's that, strategic model? What's the business model? What's the strategic pathway to support the vision?
Hmm.
And then what are those bold, consistent, and that's the key word, action steps that you're taking on a daily, weekly, monthly basis to create results? And that's how you get traction. And a lot of the times, like what was coming up for people is that I did a poll, and a lot of the women in the audience were saying, yeah, I got my vision, like I know what my vision is, and they're super passionate, right? Super
Yeah.
smart, sort of like you, like all all the degrees and just like super brainy smart. But a lot of what they were, the gaps, the room for improvement was they didn't have a strategy. And what was happening when you don't have a strategy, you lose focus. And then we get caught
Mm.
up in these rabbit holes and we start winging it, and we start we play this juggling act where we're trying all these different things, and we're now doing all these different marketing things, and we're trying to sell multiple products or services at once. um,
Mm.
and then on the consistency side, some people are taking big leaps. They get inspired, right, and motivated, and then they start doing stuff for a while, and then they fizzle out when they don't see results,
Yeah,
right? And
that's
they
that's a challenge for many. That's beautiful. Vision, strategy, and consistency leads to results. Okay. One thing we missed, I think, I don't know, maybe I've asked the question. So, what are the four reasons? Yeah, this is the solution, or
Yeah.
maybe a bridge, rather, not the solution, bridge. But what are the reasons why people are not good, or why people fail? Why do they not get the traction? Why do you think those four, what are those four reasons?
Yeah, well, they don't get the traction because of what we just mentioned, right? They don't get the traction because they're throwing spaghetti at the wall, right?
Yeah,
So they don't, the
hustling
strategy
for
isn't
this.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the strategy isn't there. So they are just trying a bunch of different things, right? They're throwing spaghetti at the wall, or they're trying different marketing tactics. But because there's no strategy, it's just they're like fishing. Like one of my client likes to say, like, she goes out and creates opportunities, right? She'll go networking or she'll talk to people and she creates lots of opportunities, but they don't lead anywhere, right? And so what's happening is if there's no strategy, then you're missing pieces, right? It's not just
Yeah.
about putting yourself out there. You actually have to be focused with what I like to do with my clients over like a 90-day period is create one traction strategy. So I did this with a client. Her name's Anne, and she's got a graphic design business. And she came to me after a number of years, right, of you know trying to grow her revenue and just kept hitting this ceiling on her income. And finally, she just decided she needed to get help because this was not, she was spinning around. And so what we did was we focused her on one particular strategy, marketing strategy that was aligned to what her business is, who her buyers are, how they like to buy, how she likes to show up, because she's also an introvert and she's more quiet, right? So I'm not going to put her out there on like a speaking circuit, right, as a strategy if that's not like she's terrified of public speaking, right? So we created a strategy that was super aligned to who she is and how her market likes to buy,
Mm.
and put herself out there. And I was with her to co-create that with her, and then accountability to keep her focused and consistent over a 90-day period, and to help her troubleshoot. See, this is what happens is people quit before the magic happens. They
Yeah.
try certain things and then they don't see results, and then they stop and then they do something else. And this is what gets us into trouble. Um, and going down these rabbit holes. And so she would implement, come back, and then we would troubleshoot. Okay, what's working, what's not working, and what's not working, I'd help her diagnose why. Why isn't it working, and what do you need to do differently next time? Set her
Yeah.
off with some right actions. She'd implement, and then we'd keep doing that so that I would help her navigate. That's why I call myself a navigator, to help her navigate the obstacles and avoid the rabbit holes and the speed bumps along the way to get traction. And she did. In 3 months, she tripled her revenue. She
Ooh.
tripled her revenue with one strategy. that
Mm.
was focused, that was customized,
Yeah.
that was consistent, and that,
Mm.
we were able to troubleshoot why it wasn't working and course correct. And that is what people are missing. And that's
Yes.
why I'm so, passionate about what I do, is because that's what I'm really good at. And so that's why when I work with people, it's this co-creation process to help them, you know, inside their gaps, right?
Yeah. So you mentioned this trifactor of mindset, vision, and strategy. Is that right? Sorry, mindset, effective strategy, and consistency. Is it
Implementation, yeah.
consistent
Yeah.
implementation? So how does that? What I'm trying to get is how does that build the bridge? How does it build the bridge to the successful results? This is where I'm trying to visualize. Okay, someone has to have a mindset of succeeding. To be frank with, many don't, even though they say, oh, I want to be successful, but they are scared of being successful.
Hmm.
And second is they don't have a vision, they're just tottering around around the landscape of like, oh, I like this land. Let's take an example of your client, and she may be saying yes to a person who comes to her, oh, can you do a logo design? And she will do a logo design. Next
Hmm.
there'll be someone else coming in, oh, I would need templates for social media, would you do templates for social media? So it's yeah, I want money, so I'll do that as well, even though it might not be what she would love to do. So this is, I take it, this is where that strategy and vision comes in place,
Yeah.
where what do you like and how can we incorporate that into your marketing strategy? Or are you
Yeah.
talking about the business strategy itself or a marketing strategy? Because in my head these two are not one and the same. You know what I
Correct.
mean?
Yeah.
there
So I'm
there is
talking.
there is a link to it. There is a clear, at one point there'll be a clear distinction, and then they mix together so that it becomes a marketing. So
Exactly. So it's three. So I work with them on three strategies. One is, what
okay.
is the business strategy? In
Okay.
other words, what is the model? What are you selling? How are you
Yeah.
positioning yourself in the market? What are you charging? What is your pricing structure? What are
Ah,
your
okay.
offers? Um, what is your profit model? Like, how are you creating a profitable business here, right? So that's the business strategy
Mm,
piece. Then we move into the marketing strategy, right? Because we can't go straight to marketing unless we know the business
what
strategy
that,
first,
yeah.
right? Like, what are we building, and how do we know we're building something that's sustainable, right? So
Mm.
the business strategy comes first. That's like
Scalable
that's yeah, exactly.
innovation.
So that's the foundation, right? Like when you're building a house, you need to really understand, like, what does the foundation need to be? Um, it based on what kind of house you're building on it,
Yes.
right? So that's the business strategy. Then we move into marketing strategy. So what
Mhm.
is the best way? What are the best couple different ways that you are going to create visibility for yourself? What are your authority platform? What is your main authority platform going to be? What is your main method of creating that visibility? Is it a speaking strategy? Is it, a teaching strategy? Is it, a writing strategy? Is it public relations? Like, what is the method by which that you're going to create visibility
Mm.
and develop your personal brand? And then thirdly, we create a sales strategy. So you're out there creating visibility for yourself. That's great. But how does that bolt into a sales process? That's the
Mm.
bridge, Suda. So the bridge is we literally create a bridge
Yeah.
from your visibility activities, from your marketing activities, from your brand building activities into your sales process. And
Mm.
that bridge is something that you need to create, right? You're inviting people into a next step. You're
Yeah.
having a consultation conversation, perhaps. It's a middle of the funnel, essentially, right? So
Okay.
if we use the funnel language, right?
Yeah.
Top of funnel is marketing, bottom of the funnel is sales, middle of the funnel is where marketing passes the baton to sales, and then sales takes over and takes care of the enrollment. And that's the piece that most people are missing. They're
Yes.
missing the sales process, because most, you know, new and growing and developing business owners don't like sales, and they don't know how to do it. And so
Yeah.
they kind of don't want to do it. So it's kind of, they put that out of their mind, and then they're missing the bridge.
Yeah.
So this is where that all needs to be built out. I mean, I'm not saying we take months to build this out. We do this very quickly because I've been doing this for so long.
Yeah.
But this is what people are missing. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yeah, it is. Now I can see how it all hangs together. So if you let me, I'll keep talking, and it's already 40 minutes. As I said, I said it to 30 minutes, but it doesn't happen all the time. I get so engrossed in I am very inquisitive person, so I want to know everything, which cannot happen in one episode anyway. So how can people reach you if they want to work with you? And do you have any freebies? We all love freebies. I don't know about you. I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can be reached on my website. So by going to michelaquilici.com. And from there, I have a number of different resources on the website. And one of them is called Market for Profit Plan. And you can get there directly by going to marketforprofitplan.com. And this is a 6-step roadmap,
Okay.
which actually maps out what we just talked about in
Hmm.
terms of the 6 steps for you to get noticed, get clients, and get profitable in your business, and how to connect the dots between your marketing and your sales activities, so that you can really go from, attracting to, retaining and scaling. So that is available for download,
Okay.
marketforprofitplan.com.
Yeah.
And
But
yeah, I'm on social media to connect and just follow my content, or just DM me, and we can talk more.
yeah, that's one thing which I know about you is that you're quite good in responding to any DMs, which is really good. Not many do that. I think that needs to be told as well. People are so scared of being on social media, they miss out. It's about using it right for years. You're not slaving around just because you're messaging someone. You would answer any of your sales calls, isn't it? It's similar to that one. So before I let you go, I've got 3 fun question, or I call more personal, but it's not personal, but it's more fun getting to know you. Number one, it's like rapid fire, but you can go on
Okay.
with the answer.
Oh, I'm scared now.
The very first question is, are you a tea person or coffee person?
Coffee person.
Oh,
Okay. Coffee person in the morning, tea person in the afternoon.
okay. So you're both. Okay, like me.
Yes.
I like you already. And the second question, for you, you live in apartments, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, or a house, it doesn't matter. Uh, if there is a fire at 2 o'clock in the morning, what are the three things you would take and run away?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I would take my partner. I'd take my cat.
He can go. You don't have to take your partner. He has got legs. He can walk.
That's true. I
Maybe he
take
can
my
be walking
cat.
before you.
Huh? Oh my gosh. I'd take my cat for sure.
Okay, yeah.
Suvi would have to be, I'd go and take her under my arms. Oh my gosh, what would I take with me? That's such a wow, an interesting question. I take my passport. That's for
Love
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Interesting. You are totally out of what everyone. I said my laptop, my iPad, my iPhone.
Oh yeah, I'd probably
So
I'd take my laptop for sure. I'd take my laptop for sure.
that
Yes.
that shows and charges. That shows how material gadget freak I am. I love my gadgets anyway.
Well, you're a
So,
tech person. Of course you do.
I'm not bothered about my partner. I'm not bothered. I'm not bothered about my. I don't have pets, so that's fine. So that's funny. And third one, are you city person or more country walk nature person?
Oh, okay. Again, I'm both. So I love going into the city and doing city things, right? So like museums and coffee shops, and I love secondhand shops and boutiques and just wandering around, right? Doing the city life, even city parks. I love city parks.
Hmm.
Um, and I love being on my bicycle. You know, I'm living in Holland, and so we have more bicycles than we
Beautiful, yeah.
have cars and people. And so I also love retreating to, a quiet neighborhood, and the country is literally a few minutes away by bike.
Okay.
And so I love going into the country and cycling and being in the forest and being with nature. So I definitely like both for different reasons, depending on how I'm feeling.
Yeah, it's the last phrase, depending on how you feel. I think that's what matters. Sometimes you do need both. You need that balance of, yeah, I can work with it. I am not a city person, but I would love quieter time a lot. Thank
Yeah.
you very much. Really, it was fun. I loved speaking to you on this, and we need to catch up as well at the same time. So let's do that. And thank you again for your time. On it was a short notice, wasn't it? As a month, month was not a short notice, but
Yeah,
anyway.
not too bad. Yeah, I'm glad we were able to fit it in and schedule it into our schedules. And thank you for having me. It's fun.
No problem at all. Thanks a lot for coming. And for you lot who is watching this live or recorded, please do get in touch with Michaela. And if you've got any question, or go and be sneaky and download her freebie market for profit plan. I think that's the one. I'll put all the details down below in the description. Down below, both of them seem to be same. I don't know why I say that, but hey, look, until I meet you next, be happy, be safe, and take care of each other. Bye for now.